Hello, this is Sandy Grayson here for FG Press, and this is our very first behind-the-scenes interview with one of our fabulous authors. I'm tentatively naming the show Under the Cover because it makes me laugh, because it sounds a little bit dirty. My first author that I want to introduce you to, we are so excited about his books. He actually has 2 books that he's written at the same time, which I think may be a first time for any author. His name is Aaron Goldfarb. He is very famous in New York City. In fact, when I read you his bio, he wrote a book called How to Fail, the Self-Hurt Guide, which also makes me laugh. He was born in Manhattan but raised in Oklahoma City, and he writes like short story. He has a short story collection about the sexes, sex, and sexiness in New York. So I think Aaron sounds a little bit like the male version of Carrie Bradshaw to me. We'll have to ask him what kind of shoes he's wearing. He also happens to be a craft beer and spirits expert. And I actually got a chance to hang out with Aaron in New York this week earlier. We did not have a camera crew with us, but he was on his way to write about a bourbon expo or something. I don't know. He gets paid for drinking and writing. So I think Aaron pretty much has the perfect job. So, hi, Aaron. Are you there? Say hello.
I am here.
Welcome. Welcome to the very first episode of Under the Cover.
I'm glad to be the guinea pig.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's tell everybody about these fabulous books that you've written that FG Press gets to bring to the world very soon. Can you give us just kind of a little synopsis of what they're all about?
Sure. So there's 2 books called The Guide for a Single Man and The Guide for a Single Woman. You can read them in either order or by themselves. I don't call them sequels or prequels. I call them equals. It's essentially the tale of one night from 2 different perspectives. One from a man's perspective, one from a woman's perspective. It's about drinking and flirting in New York on one Friday night of bar crawling for 2 men and 2 women. And I think I'm the first person ever dumb enough to write 2 books at once and release it at the same time. But until someone proves me wrong, we'll stick with that.
That's so exciting. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I think we were so excited to work with you at FG Press, because I'm not sure if this has ever been done before. I know when you talk to some other publishers, you got a little bit of pushback about wanting to release 2 books at the same time. And what we're about at FG Press is trying to do things differently and work with people like yourself that are super creative, super talented. And tell me a little bit as a writer what that process was like. You said the first person dumb enough to write 2 books at the same time. How did you actually do that? Was it like working with 2 parts of your brain constantly? Or did you start one and finish it and then go to the second one?
You know, this is a project I've been working on for a long time. You know, I used to see interviews with guys like Junot Diaz and Jonathan Franzen, and they'd say they've been working on this novel for a decade, and I thought, God, that's pathetic. Like, who would want to work on something for so long? But you know, for something like this, it's not like I woke up every day and was writing this for years and years and years. I've had the idea for a long time, and you know, it kind of just came together really piecemeal. When you read the books, you'll see that you can, in a way, kind of just jump in and read chapters. It is plot driven, but you know, the chapters kind of stand out for, you know, different topics they talk about. So anytime I kind of came up with a topic idea for either the man or the woman guide, you know, I'd kind of write it down, and slowly a plot line got developed and characters got developed, and you know, then the hardest part is you actually have a book together and you have to keep rewriting and editing, and you know, that's another year or 2 worth of work to make them, you know, copacetic with each other.
It's so cool. Well, I have had the privilege of reading them, and I'll just tell all of our viewers out there and our future readers of the guides that they're a little bit racy, right? A little bit edgy. Your voice, I thought it's so interesting. You know, the guide for the single man is, I would say, even a little bit misogynistic, and the fact that you wrote The Guide for the Single Woman, to me, redeemed you in my eyes. So what would you say to maybe some women out there that might get a little bit insulted from the Guide for the Single Man's tone? What do you say about that?
I mean, you know, they're characters. They're two characters. Devin and Les are the lead characters of Guide for the Single Man, and for better or worse, when guys get together and drink, they are a little misogynistic. I suppose I would argue two guys talking to each other can't ever really be misogynistic. It's when you act out towards women that way or publicly that way that you actually are. So the book kind of is going under the cover with how men and women perhaps talk when they're just drinking and talking about love and sex, apart from each other. And I hope I succeeded with that.
I think you did. I've been describing these books as a romantic comedy. It's just like watching a movie, and you get to see the guy's version and you get to see the girl's version, and whichever one you choose to start with, I don't know, I think it's romantic and fun. Like you said, you're a satirical novelist, and it's not something that's meant to be taken seriously. These are characters, and super exciting. Well, let's talk a little bit about your process. So you wrote a book already, and you write constantly, right? I mean, this is how you make your living as a freelance writer. Tell us a little bit. When I met you in New York, I guess it was about 5:30 in the evening, we went and had coffee, and you were on your way to an event where you're going to be drinking bourbon and writing, and you told me it was a little bit difficult because you had to drink a lot and then go to sleep and then wake up. So you wake up very early every morning, and that's when you do your writing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite as cool as you might like to think I am, or I perhaps used to be. I mean, I used to drink all night and wake up early, but now I'm in bed before baseball games are over for the evening. My wife gets up at 5:30 for her job, and once the hair dryer's on, I'm awake too. But it's actually the best time to write. I can usually put in a good 3 to 4 hours before the rest of the world, even New York's at work at 9 or 10 o'clock. Because once people start tweeting and Facebooking, how the heck am I going to start paying attention to writing? I'm as bad a procrastinator as anyone. So I try to get in a good 3 to 4 hours right in the morning. Then that leaves time the rest of the day to pitch ideas, come up with ideas, market ideas, and goof around.
And you brought up social media. So how important do you think it is for authors, people who want to write books out there, to do those sorts of things, self-promotion? I know a lot of writers are, they just want to sit in a room and write, and they don't really think about what happens after the book is written. How big of a part has the marketing and the social media been in your success?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crucial. No one else is going to promote you necessarily if you don't. I think it's almost swung too far where people think they have to. I see people who have 100,000 tweets in their life, and they claim they're writers. I mean, they're doing too much tweeting and not enough writing. I'm actually pretty bad at social media in the sense that I don't generate a lot of content. I mean, I'm lucky to tweet, Instagram, Facebook, 5 things a week. At the least, that means my followers, which are a decent number, 5,000 or so, know that if I write something, it means something, as opposed to just making a random comment about what Derek Jeter was doing last night. I think the more marketing you have to do is come up with good ideas for how you can get people to know about your books, whether that's going to other bloggers, that's trying to be on podcasts, stuff like that. And I think a lot of people are scared to just find a podcast they like or a blog they like and track down the guy's email address or the woman's email address and email them and say, hey, can I go on your show and talk about my book? And I've actually had a very good conversion rate for people allowing me to do that. I mean, these people need content as much as you need to be on their shows or their blogs. So people are really receptive to it.
That's great. So can you give me like your maybe 2 to 3 best tips for people out there that are thinking about writing a book and they want to write a book, but they haven't quite gotten there yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest tip for writing a book is to just write the book. So many people spend countless time outlining the book and, doing character studies that are never going to be in the book and going on Facebook and saying, I've decided to write a book, or, joining these, whatever book month writing clubs. Just wake up every day and write your book. And I think it's in the book Bird by Bird, where she says, just write a shitty first draft, which has always worked for me. My first drafts are they don't even look professional. I mean, I'd be embarrassed if, I died and someone found my first drafts. They'd think I was completely talentless. So the key is just to get a lot of words on the paper, get your ideas down, and then start working from there. I mean, you can't be really meticulous when you're trying to write 50,000 words or 100,000 words. You got to just start getting words down. So that's probably my number one tip.
That's great. I love that essay. I think it's Annie Dillard, right? Wrote Bird by Bird. Shitty first drafts, I'm pretty sure it's called. It's so true. Like, don't edit, just write, get it out on the page. That's great advice. Great advice. Okay, so we just have a few more minutes left. What would you give me, like, your elevator pitch? You just met somebody and they want to read your book and they're not really sure what to expect. Give me, like, your little 30 seconds. Here's the guides. Here's what you'll get when you read them.
I'm kind of still working on that because I made the titles a mouthful. So,
right.
So my pitch is usually, I don't know if anyone's ever done this before, but I wrote 2 books at once, and they're not sequels, they're not prequels, they're equals. You can read them in either order or just read one if you want to. It's called The Guide for a Single Man and The Guide for a Single Woman. One's from obviously a male perspective, and one is from a female perspective, and dig in to either side and see if you agree or disagree with what you find.
That's awesome. I don't have the book with me. We don't have our first copy yet, but we'll put a screenshot of the covers up on the video after. They're so beautiful. We're so excited. Our CEO actually took this picture at one of the bars here in Boulder called License Number 1, and we're so excited about how they came out. It feels like these books are a true group effort. Everybody on our team has had, a hand in editing or developing or designing the covers, and this whole team, we're so excited about it. And what I would say to people out there is buy both copies, buy the man's guide and the woman's guide, and give it to the one you love, and then read them and switch. I think they're very romantic. Like I said, they're a little bit racy. I think it'll lead to some really interesting conversations between people that you might be dating, significant others, or just friends that are talking about these things. I think they're really fun, really enjoyable. Aaron, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody how we can find you on Twitter and Facebook and website and all that jazz.
Well, that's another tip I give writers. Make yourself as accessible as possible. So you can find me everywhere. I think I own every single Aaron Goldfarb possible. Aaron Goldfarb on Twitter, Aaron Goldfarb on Facebook. You can email me at Aaron Goldfarb. I'm on LinkedIn if you care about that crap. It's a social network that exists. I think I'm on. I haven't tried that new Elo yet, but I'll be on there probably once we hang up.
Very cool. Well, make sure you go check out all of Aaron's writing because he's a really amazingly talented writer, and we feel very excited about working with him and really lucky that we got a chance to do these books with you, Aaron. Thank you so much. This is Sandy Grayson reporting live from Boulder, Colorado for FG Press. This has been Under the Cover with Aaron Goldfarb. Thanks a lot.